Elena Voss stood in the center of the pack hall, her heart pounding so loudly she was sure everyone could hear it. Around her, hundreds of wolves from the Crimson Moon pack had gathered, their eyes bright with anticipation. Tonight was her 21st birthday, the night her mate bond would finally awaken. She had waited for this moment her whole life. Everyone knew that Damien Cross, the Alpha King, was destined to be her mate. The elders had spoken of it since she was a child. Her parents had promised her a bright future beside him. She had grown up believing that one day she would stand at his side and rule the pack as his queen. The bonding ceremony began. Elena walked forward slowly, her white dress trailing behind her, her hands trembling. Damien stood at the front of the hall, tall and powerful, his dark eyes watching her approach. The moment their gazes met, she felt it. The pull, the warmth, the unmistakable click of a mate bond snapping into place deep in her chest. She smiled, tears of joy gathering in her eyes. It was real. He was her mate. But Damien did not smile back. His jaw tightened, his eyes shifted, just for a second, toward the crowd behind her. Elena felt confusion ripple through her, before she even turned to look. When she did, she saw her younger sister, Ivy, standing near the front, her face pale, her hands clasped tightly together. "Damien," Elena whispered, stepping closer. "It's me, the bond. Can't you feel it?" The Alpha King's expression hardened. He looked at her the way one might look at a stranger, not the woman he was destined to love. Elena's stomach twisted with dread. "I feel it," he said quietly. Then, louder, so the whole hall could hear, he added, "But I cannot accept you as my mate, Elena." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Elena's whole body went cold. "What are you saying?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Damien turned toward Ivy. He walked past Elena as if she were invisible, closing the distance between himself and her younger sister. He took Ivy's hand gently in his own. "I have loved Ivy for 2 years," he announced to the pack. "Long before this bond ever formed. I choose her. I reject you, Elena Voss, as my mate." The word struck Elena like a physical blow. In wolf culture, rejection was the deepest wound a person could suffer, a public declaration that she was unworthy, unwanted, cast aside. The pack murmured around her, some in shock, some in pity, a few even in quiet judgment, as if she had done something wrong simply by existing. Elena's knees weakened. She looked at Ivy, hoping to see some sign of protest, some flicker of loyalty between sisters. Instead, she saw only guilt and fear, and beneath it, something that looked disturbingly like relief. "I'm sorry," Ivy mouthed, but she did not let go of Damien's hand. Elena did not remember leaving the hall. She only remembered the cold night air hitting her face, the sound of her own ragged breathing, and the ache in her chest where the broken bond now sat like a wound that would not close. The days that followed were the hardest of her life. Word of her rejection spread through the pack within hours. Wolves who had once greeted her warmly now looked away when she passed. Some whispered behind her back. A few even laughed. Rejection was rare among high-ranking families, and the shame of it clung to Elena like a shadow she could not shake. Her parents, though sympathetic, urged her to keep her head down. They worried about the family's standing with the Alpha King. Her father even suggested she apologize to Ivy, as if Elena had been the one to cause the pain instead of the one to suffer it. "You must understand," her mother said one evening, not unkindly, but firmly. "Damien is still our king. We cannot afford to make enemies of him or Ivy. Perhaps it's best if you stayed elsewhere for a while, until things settle." Elena understood the message clearly. She was no longer welcome, not truly, not the way she used to be. The sister who had once shared secrets and laughter with her, now avoided her gaze entirely, retreating into the safety of her new relationship, leaving Elena to carry the weight of humiliation alone. That night, Elena packed a single bag. She had no clear plan, only the certainty that she could not remain in Crimson Moon territory, surrounded by pity and whispers, watching Damien and Ivy build a life together in the very halls where she had once dreamed of her own future. She left before dawn, walking toward the pack's northern border, the only direction that led away from everything she had ever known. She did not get far. As the first light of morning broke over the hills, Elena heard the low rumble of engines. She turned to see a convoy of sleek black vehicles approaching the border, flanked by wolves in formal uniform bearing an insignia she did not recognize. A silver wolf, circled by a crown of thorns. Her heart raced. Visitors from another kingdom rarely came without warning, and never with such an imposing presence. The lead vehicle stopped a short distance away. A tall man stepped out, dressed simply, but with unmistakable authority in his bearing. His hair was dark, his eyes a striking shade of gray, sharp and assessing as they swept over the scene before settling on Elena. The moment his gaze met hers, something shifted deep inside her chest. It was different from what she had felt with Damien, yet unmistakably the same in nature. Warm, powerful, undeniable. A mate bond, forming right before her eyes. She stumbled back a step, overwhelmed. "This isn't possible," she whispered. "I already had a bond. It was rejected." The stranger walked closer, his expression calm despite the weight of what was happening. "That is exactly why I am here," he said. His voice was steady, deep, carrying the quiet confidence of someone accustomed to command. "My name is Alaric. I rule the Obsidian Kingdom, 3 territories north of here. 3 nights ago, I felt a bond begin to form, then break, then form again in a different direction. I have been traveling since, following it here." Elena shook her head, struggling to understand. "How can I have 2 bonds?" Alaric studied her for a long moment before answering. "Rejection severs one bond, but for those with rare bloodlines, it can awaken a second hidden one. It only happens once in a generation, sometimes less. Your family may not even be aware of what runs in your blood, Elena." She stared at him, searching his face for any sign of deception, but found none. Only sincerity, and something gentler beneath the authority, an openness she had not expected from a king. Word of Alaric's arrival spread quickly through Crimson Moon Pack. Within the hour, Damien himself came to the border, flanked by pack warriors, his expression a mixture of confusion and barely restrained anger. "What business does the Obsidian King have on my land?" Damien demanded. Alaric did not flinch. "I have come for my mate," he said simply. Damien's eyes flicked to Elena, and for the first time since the rejection, something like regret crossed his features. "Elena is pack business," he said. "Not yours to claim." Alaric's calm demeanor did not waver, but his voice carried a new edge, one that made even the Crimson Moon warriors shift uneasily. "You rejected her. In doing so, you gave up every right to speak for her, protect her, or interfere in her future. She belongs to no one but herself, and she has chosen, through the bond, not through words, to belong with me, if she wills it." The pack elders murmured among themselves, some nodding slowly. The law was clear, even if rarely tested. Rejection was final. There was no reclaiming what one had thrown away. Ivy appeared then, pushing through the gathered crowd, her eyes wide as she took in the scene. The powerful stranger, the unmistakable bond visible in the way Elena and Alaric stood close together, drawn to one another by something neither could deny. "Elena," Ivy said softly, guilt heavy in her voice, "I didn't know this would happen. I never wanted you to be hurt." Elena looked at her sister, and for a moment, old affection stirred beneath the pain, but it was tangled now, with hurt that would take time to heal. "I know," she said quietly, "but you let it happen anyway." Ivy had no answer for that. She only watched, silent, as Elena turned back toward Alaric. "I don't know you," Elena said to him, her voice steadier now, though still cautious. "I don't know if I can simply leave everything behind and trust a stranger, even one bound to me by fate." Alaric nodded, understanding rather than pressing her. "Then don't leave everything behind today," he said. "Come to my kingdom as a guest, not as anything more. Let me earn your trust before I ask for anything else. A bond may connect us, but it does not obligate you to love me. That, you must choose freely." His words surprised her. She had expected demands, expectations, the same assumptions that had shaped her entire life until now. Instead, he offered her something she had never truly had, a choice. Elena looked back once more at Crimson Moon Pack, at the hall where she had been humiliated, at her sister who would not meet her eyes, at the king who had once been her entire future, and was now nothing more than a painful memory. Then she looked at Alaric, at the quiet strength in his gaze, the patience in his offer. "All right," she said softly, "I'll come." The weeks that followed in the Obsidian Kingdom were unlike anything Elena had known. Alaric kept his promise. He did not rush her, did not demand affection or acceptance. Instead, he showed her his kingdom, introduced her to his people, and included her in small parts of his daily life, always careful to give her space to breathe, to heal, to decide for herself what she wanted. She learned that his kingdom was strong, not because of fear, but because of respect. His people spoke of him with genuine warmth, not the forced deference she had often seen directed at Damien. Slowly, cautiously, Elena began to see a future for herself that did not revolve around the humiliation she had left behind. One evening, as the sun set over the Obsidian territory, painting the sky in shades of gold and deep red, Alaric found her standing on a balcony overlooking the kingdom. "You seem thoughtful," he said, coming to stand beside her, careful to keep a respectful distance. "I was just thinking about how different this feels," Elena admitted. "A month ago, I believed my life was over. Now I'm standing here, watching a sunset I never imagined I'd see, in a place I never imagined I'd call home." Alaric turned to look at her fully. "Does it feel like home?" Elena considered the question carefully before answering. "It's starting to," she said honestly. "Not because of the kingdom itself, but because of how you've treated me. You never made me feel like an obligation, or a consolation, or something broken to be fixed. You made me feel like myself again." A small, genuine smile touched Alaric's lips, one Elena realized she had come to look forward to seeing. "That was always my hope," he said. "I did not want to be your rebound, or your rescue. I wanted to be your choice." Elena felt the truth of his words settle into her chest, filling the empty space that rejection had left behind. She reached out, taking his hand in hers, an action she had not been ready for weeks earlier, but now felt as natural as breathing. "Then let this be my choice," she said softly. "I choose you, Alaric, not because a bond exists between us, but because of who you have shown me you are." Alaric's fingers tightened gently around hers. "And I choose you, Elena Voss." Fully, and without condition. That night, beneath the vast obsidian sky, Alaric formally presented Elena to his court, not as a rejected outcast seeking refuge, but as his chosen queen, a woman who had endured heartbreak and emerged stronger for it. His people welcomed her with a warmth she had never known in Crimson Moonpack, a warmth built not on politics or obligation, but on genuine respect for the strength she had shown. Word eventually reached Crimson Moonpack of Elena's new position, of the powerful kingdom that now called her queen. Damien, watching from a distance he could no longer bridge, understood at last the magnitude of what his rejection had cost him. Not just a mate, but a remarkable woman he would never fully understand the value of until she was already gone. Ivy, too, carried the weight of what she had allowed to happen, a shadow that would follow her long after the initial guilt faded. But Elena did not dwell on their regrets. She had built something new, something entirely her own, in a kingdom that valued her not for the bond that connected her to its king, but for the woman she had proven herself to be. Standing beside Alaric as the Obsidian Kingdom celebrated their union, Elena understood a truth she had once been too heartbroken to see. Rejection had not been the end of her story. It had simply cleared the path toward the beginning of the right one. A life built not on old promises broken, but on new ones freely chosen, and finally, truly her own.